is a surprise because we all saw Donald Trump being elected. Okay.
Right.
We also knew his game plan, which he had made public to Americans, and obviously all of us were listening. Do you understand? So right now he is executing or implementing that plan. And as you can see, the whole world is rumbling, and some places they're going helter skelter. But let's just look at the specific implications for Nigeria. Now, in this instance, several factors have led to the uh, there might be a review of the budget because one, as you can see from the uh, tariffs spread around the world by Donald Trump, okay,
Right.
what that has done is that it's going to hit some countries heavy, especially Nigeria, even though they said crude not going to be tariffed. But where in other places where they tariff the oil, it will cause an increase. Okay. Now, therefore, what has happened is that the crude oil price marketers globally have started reacting, and Brent is now at 65, while the WTI is at $60. Nigeria sells Brent, so that we're looking at the 65 figure. That $65 per barrel figure is $10 less budget projections for 2025, which was at
$75.
$75. That's a big hit. Do you understand? A whole $10 loss in just one fell sweep. And we just started the financial year. Do you understand? So what that means is that the government, remember that $75 was also part of the assumptions was that we'll be producing oil at 2 million barrels per day. I think we're just barely at 1.1, 1.2, right? We've not been able to ramp it up. Then also exchange rates, obviously, that will take a hit, which was projected at 1,500. Now, if you remember, um, already the exchange rates have started going down. That's devaluation.
Hmm.
However, it was moving towards 1.6. CBN has shared about $140 million twice in just less than a week. Okay, just to hedge that race by foreign portfolio investors pulling their money, etc. But you see, the point here is this: if you remember, the budget initially, before it became 55 trillion, it was at 45 trillion. Yeah, if you remember, that was what it came out at. And
Right.
then they now reevaluated it at 55, saying that they found some areas where Nigeria was going to earn more. So basically, it means scaling back again. So we're expecting the House of Assembly and the Senate to actually review based on proper projections by the National Economic Council uh, our positioning. Now, why do you have to do this? Because it means you will not be able to meet up your targets, your budget performance. You won't be
Right.
able to earn. Okay. Now, that in itself is an issue because if government cannot earn, how are they going to fund many of the projects and the plans that they've had? Which means, as usual, they'll look at borrowing even more. And Nigeria is already up at the teeth in terms of its debt management. Now, what it brings into question, which has always been the issue, which did not require Donald Trump or China reacting or even OPEC increasing its what do you call
It's
it?
quarter.
Its quota. Do you understand? Is we already knew some of these things would happen, and in a scenario whereby oil was at $60 or at $50, what was Nigeria going to do? If you remember, what do you call it? During the pre-COVID, there was that recession that the world had, right?
Right.
And oil price dropped to as low as $10, and everybody was running helter skelter. So the point here is this: this is where we expect government to work. What are those policies? Because I told you before, it doesn't mean that when you lack funding, that is a hopeless situation. You can trade. When I say trade by barter, for example, our power situation. Is there a public-private partnership, a PPP, Nigeria can go into with China, who has promised to fund $10 billion, okay, to be able to ramp up generation capacity from 4,000 megawatts per day to about 20,000 megawatts. When you do that, you restore what do you call it? Productive capacity to
Definitely.
Nigerian businesses, to social services, etc. In terms of agriculture, what contractual agreements are being put in place with local and foreign investors to ensure that we can fund massive industrial mechanized production of livestock as well as crop production? Our solid mineral areas. what the policy changes that are required. That is the fiscal plan.
Right.
So that's what we want to hear our leaders, both at the federal level and at the state level, discussing. Because in so doing, you then grow your revenue. Also, based on assets, Nigeria has a lot of moribund or unoptimized assets, like the NNPC, which is which is at 60 trillion. If you sell down like half of NNPC, the federal government will raise about $30 billion immediately, which will be used for social services and funding one thing or the other. And then at the same time, maybe privatizing it even more. So I'm just saying that it's not a hopeless situation. It's not a situation for us to panic. It's a situation to put our heads on the ground and start looking at that. I want Edu, the Minister of Finance and Investment, as well as Foreign Affairs, to go to work and do the needful. This is why you are in government, to make that difference so that the Nigeria's welfare and talent will be protected.
All right, thank you so much for sharing those thoughts, Devoe. And I'd love to welcome Lakunle joining us on the show this morning. Very good morning to you, Lakunle. Hope you can hear me very clearly. Thought maybe we were having some connectivity issues. Well, great to have you join us.
I can hear you very clearly. Good morning. Apologies for joining this late. Of course, network issues all over the place.
It happens, but better late than never, as we love to say. Okay, Lakunle, I'm coming to you with this one straight off the bat. Staying in the Punch newspaper, let's talk health. Now, the coordinating minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Pati, said over 16,000 Nigerian doctors have left the country in the last 5 to 7 years to see greener pastures in other countries. Now, Pati also said, very interestingly and importantly, that the doctor to population ratio is now 3.9 per 10,000 in the country, while the estimated cost of training one doctor exceeds $21,000. Now, we've heard different numbers bandied over recently, number of doctors who have left. Now, this is coming from literally the horse's mouth, saying over 16,000 of our doctors have left the country in the last 7 years. Those are not very good numbers for a country that aims to get to, should I say, a reasonable level when it comes to healthcare. That's not sustainable if we have these kind of numbers leaving the country in droves.
Okay, so at this table, we've spoken about this a few times. The World Health Organization says that your doctor to patient ratio should be about, I think, 1 to 1,000 patients, one doctor to 1,000 patients. In Nigeria, one doctor is to about 10,000. So for me, the problem is not really about the ones that are leaving, because it's a human whatever. People will migrate for whatever reason, economic reason, safety reason, political reason, whatever reason, people will migrate. But what can you do to stop the migration in this respect? Okay, so by my last estimation, I think of all the almost 200 universities we have in Nigeria, we have, I think, about 71 of them who have medical colleges. So they train medical schools, right? Of that number, I think the one that has a maximum capacity per session for admission is University College Hospital Ibadan with, I think, how many? Is it 200? According to NUC report. I hope I'm correct, that number. So let's take that as average across all the 71. That means per year, we are only training about 5,000 medical doctors. So in all the 75, in all the 71 medical schools, the numbers keep my mind because we've spoken with severally. So what can we do to ramp up this number of doctors we are going to train? What can we do to make sure that the things that the doctors complain about when they come out of training, where they do their residency, we had a sitting minister who happened to be a professor of medicine say that it is not compulsory that they practice medicine, that they should go under his own tailor that time. His own tailor, the person that sews his suits and shirts and trousers, was a medical doctor and has now started doing tailoring, So those kind of things. So when we look at those places, what can we do? Can we increase the capacity to train more? Can we make their residency easy for them to do? Can we provide them with work tools? Most importantly, can we pay them commensurate salaries that at least will dissuade them from wanting to leave? Those are the basic things that we need to do. in the 90s as a child, I remember when some of my friends whose parents were medical doctors were migrating to the Middle East. When they went, within the first 3-6 months that they left, they came back and were able to buy cars, build houses, and all that. We could see the wealth that their movement to those places brought them. And so for a medical doctor, a professor, and is also a minister to say that it is not new, I think that statement should be coming out of office holders, that it is not new. Yes, we know people will always move. What has Cuba done in the last 40 years? Cuba 40, 50 years ago was what we called trenches, what we call in the streets in Lagos, Nigeria, it was trenches. But somebody came and led the country and provided. Cuba is almost 100% literate today. Cuba exports medical doctors to its own benefit, not to its own loss. Okay, so can we copy what Cuba is doing? So if these guys are moving, how can the country benefit from this movement? The average medical student today is studying that I can't wait to graduate so that I can relocate to other countries. And then what makes it more interesting is that you open the pages of your newspaper, you see Nigerian names, Nigerians and Nigerian sounding names, making wonderful and incredible inroads in medical practice all over the place. And you're asking yourself, it is not new. You are telling us it is not new. But these are Nigerians who are going out there to do stuff. And it's not just medical doctors. It's the same thing with our nurses. Look at the number of schools, universities, training institutions that have opened up and have started nursing departments and are training people. And the object of everybody going to study nursing is, once I finish, I'm leaving Nigeria for somewhere else. And so these are the things that we need to focus on as a country. Strategy, policies, that's the job of government. It is not the job of government to do other things other than strategies, policies that will make things work for people. And for example, now today, possibly, as we hear, we're not sure that the president, when he goes to France, he goes to see his doctor. Why can't he see a doctor in Nigeria? Because the facility for the doctor in Nigeria to probably treat our president is not available. It's not even a matter of trusting the doctor itself. It's a facility to even treat the president that is not there. Meanwhile, the budget Aso Rock Clinic reads about some billions every year.
Exactly what I was about to say, despite the allocations for the Aso Rock Clinic and all that.
Yeah,
what I was about to say as well.
So what is that supposed to be? What is that being spent on? So when you look at
Yes, let me just add something. You know, this medical issue, one thing we need to put in perspective, because we've gone on years saying the same thing, right? Is that medical professionals, doctors, lab scientists, nurses, they fall into what we refer to as professionals. Now, it's not just even in the medical area. You also have those who work in the manufacturing, engineers. You also have lawyers. Basically, Nigeria is losing its middle class, its educated, capable, productive middle class in droves. So, therefore, the quality of work in this country is reducing. The quality of service is reducing. Even bankers. I mean, there was a time you heard most banks were running short on IT technical staff because all of them had jackpot. Why? Some of these people are educated. I mean, if they get opportunities elsewhere at double or triple the amounts that they earn here, it's not rocket science why they're leaving. So clearly, what is required is for government to look for a way to bring in the private sector to ramp up investments in the medical field, because there's nothing, I mean, but even when you travel abroad, most times you even jam the same Nigerian doctors that left here, who are now given better working service conditions, also the equipment and even the training.
Devoe, you know why we know all this, because the focus of this is on the medical profession itself. So that's why we have tried to limit the discussion.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying government in terms of social services, health, education, transportation. If you check the budget allocation, even though this administration raised it by an inch, and I say by an inch because it was more than before, but it wasn't much. Look at the amount that goes into security in terms of national defense. We've been pumping money into defense for almost 2 decades now without much results. I think it's about time we look at a new strategy to put some money and policy into attracting investment in some of these areas that we're losing our best talents in. Because without that new investment, these people are not going to change their minds as to the offers that they're getting elsewhere.
Let me take a couple of messages before we get back into the stories here. Yusuf in Lekki says, good morning to you. He says, what happened to the earning from LNG and some other small exports, like some of the minerals like aluminium, iron, and even gold? These things really do not add up.
They add up, but they're not enough.
Let me see here. This is Emeka. Emeka says, to show you how bad our health sector is, I know a professor of nephrology, that's a kidney specialist, that recently migrated to the US and has started residency training there all over again, just to practice in their country. There are WhatsApp group for doctors preparing to jackpot, and they're in thousands. Things can only get worse if we don't put the right things in place. This is coming from Guru in Lagos says, Devoe, you keep going on and on about getting China to take over our power sector. You are a well-connected man, as far as I know. Really? Please spare us now and take this to the right people whom you have connection with.
Yes, we need a collective agreements by the masses to ensure that get all of your senators and House of Rep members to drive this issue at the National Assembly.
All right, let's get back into the stories. And Devoe, I'm coming back to you with this one. Heading into the Daily Trust, we're going to be talking about security. We mentioned security. It's difficult not to mention that every single day. Malam Nuhu Ribadu, the National Security Advisor, has warned family members of kidnapped victims against ransom payments. Now, speaking while receiving some rescued victims on Tuesday, the NSA said they were rescued based on military operations. Just yesterday on Fresh Keepers, we're talking about the NSA, who was talking about reviewing the blueprint when it comes to the approach to tackling terrorism and banditry and so on and so forth. We'll talk about it yesterday. Now, he's saying that victims' families shouldn't pay any ransoms. But bearing in mind the track record, it's difficult to tell families not to do that when things seem hopeless in terms of getting their family members back.
That's why I was kind of shocked hearing that the NSA was once saying this. You shouldn't forget, he's the National Security Advisor, and his first report is the presidency. Honestly, the person who should be speaking is the Minister of Defense, right? Or at best, because it's an internal affair issue, the IG of police. We're not hearing these two people who are part of the security architecture speak. I'm hearing the NSA, because in this issue, the question is, I always say this, the security issue in Nigeria is not rocket science. You don't even need to go to Harvard or Cambridge or go to some security force training in Malaysia to come back just to tell us what to do. You have a population of 200 million people with only 300,000 policemen, okay? Half of the policemen are sitting following celebrities and VIPs and politicians up and down. So that leaves about 150,000 for 200 million people. You have clearly failed. They are not going to be able to secure the country. Add the extra 300,000 armed forces people who are within the country. And if you remember, two CDSs before the current Christopher Musa, Brotai said we are in 34 states out of 36, meaning the military had already been spread thin, meaning if we had any external attack on this country, which we do in some locations, the military cannot deliver 100% safety. So this is known. And this is why many families, many Nigerian citizens find themselves kidnapped and have to relate with their people to pay off the ransom, which vary from 2 million naira to 10 million, 50 million, depending on where you're caught and who you are. I mean, it's become an industry. I think the last time that the NBI, sorry, that's the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, released figures that people paid up to 2 trillion. What happened? Some rats entered the MBS and they said their server went bad and that it was wrong information. That was the hard facts. Nigerians have been paying ransom. Now it's been an incredible situation. My direct response to the presidency and the governors, by now, instead of discussing who asked one person to make the other happy, right? At the National Assembly, both House and Senate, by now, should they not have passed the State Policing Act? Why are we still dilly-dallying on what is required to make this nation safe and sound? It's clear the federal government cannot carry the full bill for creating a veritable security force in this nation. So state governments who receive the other half, since they're still bullying the local governments, okay, should ramp up with this bill. All state governors should have state policing. At least by now, we should be talking about the police force of about at least, meaning that is everything is bad, bad, bad. 500,000 policemen. If not, sorry, what am I saying? Please scratch that. I correct myself. About 1 million police officers on ground for 200 million people, which is still small. If you have 1 million police on ground, at least we might not have all these ungoverned spaces. You won't have a governor of Plateau coming out to tell you that there are some local governments that their citizens there pay taxes to terrorists. Do you understand the disgrace involved here for governors to be telling you that there are places where they cannot get complete control? I don't understand. That means our national sovereignty has completely broken down, where it's now normal. And then you have the temerity to come and tell Nigerians who pay taxes to terrorists that they should not pay. What are you talking about? The speed that you used to do the state of emergency in River State, where nobody was being captured, how come that same speed has not been applied to places like Benue, applied to places like, what do you call it, Plateau, applied to places like, as Zulum has spoken, where we're losing ground on insecurity in Borno State? How come those places are not being looked after? The president needs to start speaking up, because at this point in time, Nigerians will just simply have to defend themselves, because we can't keep hearing back and forth and telling us stories that touch every time we hear from authorities.
I'm talking about people defending themselves. What came to mind is the sort of thing that where we have groups and so on and so forth, because nobody's coming to save it.
I'm not hearing you.
Okay, I said now the governor of Borno State. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, sure, clear.
The governor of Borno State, as Devoe alluded to, he has lamented the resurgence of Boko Haram attacks in Borno State. Now, he's saying that it signals that the state is losing ground to terrorists. Just, really quickly here to round up the show, Lakunle, we've been talking about these security issues, and things seem to have, should I say, reduced to a level. There have been reports of relative calm in some of those areas within the Northeast and so on and so forth. But now the governor himself is saying these attacks, they're coming back. What is going on?
One, I think that the fundamental of this issue is what we've always spoken about. We have an army of young people who are jobless, who look at the way people in leadership position live, the opulence, the flamboyance, the display of wealth, and they don't see an inroad into making a honest living. And you ask them to go and farm, physical farming, subsistence farming cannot provide them with the kind of opulence they see with the leadership. So these people are easily attracted with a few dollars there and there. What we see in the Northeast and Northwest and in many other places in Nigeria today has become an industry that they have sponsors. Recall there was a time the military said that when after they neutralized some group of what did they call them? That was it the bandits or Boko Haram terrorists? Whichever of them, that they found foreign currencies on some of them. Where did those people find the money from? Don't also forget, there was a time 2-3 years ago that the government of the UAE said that they gave Nigeria a list of 41 suspected sponsors of terrorism in Nigeria. What has the Nigerian government done?
400 or thereabouts, not 40, 400 or thereabouts.
Yeah. What has Nigerian government done with that list? Have they investigated these people? Have you traced their source of wealth? So for me, the idea that we think that this is a religious issue, it is not. It is plainly economic. For the period that the man in Borno State provided a few things here and there, that was where this thing slowed down. Now, maybe those guys have upped the ante. Maybe they were giving $100 before. They have now given them $300. $300 is more than a bag of rice, isn't it? So if you choose $300 and a bag of rice, which one would I choose? For somebody who has no hope where the next meal is going to come from? Don't also forget that the countries around Lake Chad who are supposed to be part of the joint national task force, are they doing their bit What is Nigeria's role? Are we playing the leadership role we should play in making that place safe? A national security advisor is saying that, is admitting to the fact that we are not able to police our country. That's a shame. What is wrong with us? Why is it difficult for us to be able to manage ourselves? What is the problem in, we know that police, ordinarily this should have been an internal affair, a police affair, but the Nigerian military is stretched. They are in every state in Nigeria trying to solve one security challenge or the other. How many are they in the Nigerian military, the whole of Nigerian military? Are they up to 1 million? No, they are not. The Nigerian police is less than 500,000. If you put all of them together, we don't have 2 million people to police our supposed 200 million populace. Out of that 200 million populace, 130 are living below the poverty line. And you say that these things will not happen. It will happen for whatever reason it is going to happen. And those are the things that we expect again, that we expect that we should place emphasis on. Policies to provide above average life. And that is one of the reasons our educated, middle income, those ones that can afford it, are running out of the country, and we are creating this vacuum. Right. Nature abhors vacuum. And once we are not able to fill this vacuum in a sensible way, the vacuum will be filled in a senseless way. And that's what we're saying.
So many things to unpack. Gilbert Musa on WhatsApp says, on the resurgence of Boko Haram in Borno State, this is not new. When Shetima was governor of the state, he equally cried out about the same challenge. Mr. Devoe has given us the solution. Babatunde Alao says, for insecurity in Nigeria, hold the government accountable. They know the evildoers. They sponsor them. They work together. That's according to Babatunde Alao. All right. Michael Ayokunmi says, we have been analyzing these topics for years. This is the best we can do as Nigerians. This is sad. Rexy says, is it with oil at $65 per barrel that will pay medical personnel competitive salaries? We should cut defense spending and use to pay doctors, according to the analysts. Small time, the same people will be telling us how. The analysts will be telling us how government is failing its primary responsibility. We are a third world country. Sometimes we have to pick our poison. Let's stop talking like we are not. Some challenges we will just have to live with.
Can I quickly respond to that?
Very quickly.
So the medical doctors who have private practice, are we paying them from the oil money as well? I think that the problem is not even the money in itself. Go to general hospitals, go to teaching hospitals, go and look at the state of some of those hospitals. There are places that you would not want to be at. Doctors complain of being overworked. They are supposed to work an 8-hour shift. You see them work 24-hour shifts. If you take away those things first, provide equipment, provide enough doctors. That's why I said, ramp up our training capability. That's the first thing to do. Then, so that provide opportunities for residency for these people to be able to train, to be able to want to stay here. So those are the first things. It's not sometimes money the first thing. We have made that mistake in Nigeria a lot, that once there's a problem, we think once we throw money at it, the problem disappears.
Okay, finally, let me take this one from JJ, who says, labor will always go where it's appreciated. Nigeria has always paid lip service to professional jobs while politics has become our mainstay. We're not ready to face the facts, and we will keep losing our best brains, the effect of which is waiting for us in front. We never see anything, according to JJ. All right, we need to go. Thank you so much for all the messages. Thank you so much, Devoe and Lakunle, for joining me this morning.
Thank you, Ayo, for having me. And once again, apologies for the joining late.
It's all good at the end of the day. Thank you once again for keeping it to Smooth 98.1. Don't go anywhere. We'll get into the world of sports in the locker room at 8:15. A lot of things to get into at that time.
See you in the story.